Hello everyone, Borderlands 4 got a massive update today, and I'll be breaking down all the changes that came out with the patch, as some characters actually got hit with some pretty tough nerfs, and I'll be breaking down all of that in this video. Now you can see here, Harlowe can still take out enemies really quickly. However, there was a massive change to what I think to be the most powerful ability that's ever been in a Borderlands game with her neutron capture, which now converts all damage into radiation damage. This now no longer works properly with specific weapons, like if you use the Convergence Shotgun or Katagawa's Revenge. Even my favorite, the Mad Lad, it's greatly reduced in its overall power, but there are some gun buffs to different weapons in this game that I want to break down as well. So I guess first off, there are a few shift codes I just want to mention here. So there's one here that's going to give you a pumpkin head. I'll have this in the description as well. There's another one that's going to give you a golden key. Now, unfortunately, Amon caught a very harsh nerf here with his there is only red is now only going to have 4 seconds of duration bonus instead of the 9 seconds it was previously. This keeps him in his berserk state, which is really something you want to do. However, Amon can still do this with a ordnance and have infinite amount of shots with it. So I'm still happy because, yeah, he's still got his ability to restore his grenades like crazy. So to save you guys time, I'm just going to break down the most important updates here. So you're to be able to respec your specializations, it's now only 1500 iridium. Certain bosses are now going to properly be dropping their loot. There's just a bunch of quality of life and bug fixes here. This is one I know a lot of people want to see updated as a lost loot machine, which will store every single item that you lose. It'll now have better logic to be able to give you higher quality loot so you don't end up losing your legendaries, as I know a few people have gotten that happen to them. And just general fixes to quests and different things like the fast travel's not working when you go into Ultimate Vault Hunter mode. Gameplay and missions is pretty much just a lot of quality of life and bug fixes here as well, and things like certain enemies like the pangolins not being able to get hit when they go in their ball mode with grenades now properly getting hurt, and again, just fixes of things like invisible walls and holes and clipping. Now, Amon did get some really nice changes, like you can now properly see through his shield. If you used his shield previously, you would note that it is extremely hard to see through, but this actually gives you a lot of visibility in it, so that's really nice. There are also changes to Rocket Fist if you're playing with friends, as it was not properly registering the normal attacks there. The thing I'm most upset about, again, is that there is only red now stacking for only 4 seconds. The reason why this is so good is basically when he goes into Berserk after using his Firewall ability, whenever he's in Berserk, he gets bonus cryo damage with gun and melee attacks, 30% bonus damage. But this scales incredibly well with there is only red, because this will extend Berserk, which normally lasts 15 seconds, but it used to be 9 seconds, which was amazing. Now it's only 4 seconds. And he gets bonus 60% cryo damage per kill with a stack of 600%. So yeah, this adds a ton of extra damage to Amon, and it's a kill skill. So you could actually, if you got even further down in here, this one triggers kill skills on melee attacks, which also triggers off of his green skill tree. So he's going to actually scale incredibly well when the level cap increases. So I can understand why they're changing some of these things. There's some quality of life changes too, like Scorched Kairos now properly showing your grenades and explosions how big their magazine size will be. There's actually something funny is whenever you use Glacial Rapture, previously this used to actually trigger your Forge Waves too, which are pretty strong with Eternal Winter. I want to mention that. Even though this build that I'm using actually doesn't use an Augment or a Capstone because Firewall is just so good for ordinances. But yeah, it's nice to see that they're getting some changes here. They also made some pretty big changes to Blackout here now, being 15% per point, down from 21% per point shock damage. It was pretty strong prior to this. I previously only took 1 stack in it just because I found that 1% extra critical hit rate went well. But yeah, they're changing that to make it a little bit worse now. But since the damage is actually scaling, you don't have to actually take 1 point in this anymore. You can actually go past 5 points. So they actually make this work properly now. So I guess overall it is actually a buff despite it having a bit of a different way of working. Crucible also got to change that whenever you activate your ability, it doesn't get rid of your Forge Axes anymore. Previously, it would sometimes do that, and I hope that they bring some more buffs to the green skill tree. Now, Vex actually caught some pretty deadly nerfs. Bloodletter is no longer going to be able to critically hit and then stack itself. Obviously, with the critical hit knife changing too, this brings on a lot of changes. However, in the patch updates here, it is no longer going to stack infinitely, which would recursively trigger itself, pretending unintended damage loops. You can notice this when you get critical hit knife and you threw this, it would basically make your bleed critically hit and continue scaling up even higher and higher. So yeah, rest in peace to this build. It's going to be a lot weaker now, but still, I was playing around. I found some pretty strong ones still for Vex because she still obviously has Witchy Trigger Finger, and with Torg Stickies, that's always going to be a good choice. And even with things like the Bod, which you can increase the magazine size quite a bit so that you don't have to reload, she's still going to be really strong, just maybe not with bleed builds. I did a video on the heirloom capstone here, which is pretty cool because you can make it so that she uses your equipped gun. This will still actually be really strong, and I'm excited to post a build on this in the next few days because I've been testing some stuff, and this still works really well. But the Spectre's copied weapon now properly displays the visual effects when firing a Maliwan switcher, element switcher. So there are some weapons that don't properly work whenever you're using the heirloom here. So we'll see. But the kickballer weapon, what's cool about that is the kickballer does those big explosions if you have the Jacob's Lace accessory on it, and it normally knocks yourself out. But with your Spectres, they don't do splash damage to you, so you can actually abuse this, and it's actually kind of interesting. Also, we got some nice changes to the red skill tree for Vex. I still think that this needs a bit more of a buff, but Double Trouble now has a damage multiplier of 75%, up from the 50% it was previously, and the duration is now going to be 8 seconds with the illusion. Previously it was 5, so we have the illusion out for longer now. It has a higher damage multiplier, and overall, this build is getting a little bit better. I still do think that the blue and the green are better. Unfortunately, they just have better utility. And Ultimate Vault, I want to mention this, Ultimate Vault Hunter 5. I had some hate on my channel because I said that the red skill tree does lag behind the other two in terms of its damage output. I want to clarify in Ultimate Vault Hunter 5. If you're playing this for your first playthrough, it's great. It's actually a lot of fun, and I did it for my first playthrough too. And I think it's an awesome skill tree that I want them to buff more, but it does lag behind the other two in Ultimate Vault Hunter 5. This is a nice change. I like the Unsealed, which gives you increased 50% gun damage on marked targets, but hopefully we'll see some more changes here. Another nice change to Unsealed is now it's giving you 15% bonus damage dealt with your summon here, and posted plus 10%. So this is great because this stacks up even higher, and actually nice buff overall. Now, unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. I think that Harlowe is the most powerful and probably still the most powerful, but unfortunately this was a huge nerf to neutron capture, as it now converts all damage, that's all gun damage, into radiation, and now only applies to gunshots and not all instances of gun damage. There's a lot of weapons that could do crazy instances of gun damage, most notably Katagawa's Revenge, which no longer works. This is one of the best damage scalers in the entire game. What's crazy about this too is neutron capture prior to the game's release was actually 10% of your action skill damage dealt added to your gunshots, which is absurd. So they nerfed it by quite a bit before it got released, and then they're nerfing it again, which understandably so. I just want to mention that you could kill bosses in 2 seconds. Now it takes 3 seconds to kill with Harlowe, so not really that bad of a nerf, especially when she has so many other powerful abilities. And this is still going to have it as one of the best damage scalers in the game, they say there. But since all the damage is going to be converted to radiation instead of more scaling vectors for clever build crafters, allowing for more meaningful damage boosts. And this is actually true because prior to this, you wanted to use her green skill tree a lot more because it actually had better abilities than even sometimes taking your capstone. But now there's bonus radiation damage. This one irradiates enemies and does irradiation damage explosions. This one gives you bonus radiation damage. Like, there's a lot of bonuses that you can apply to radiation damage. So that is, I guess, pretty cool. But I want to acknowledge that it does nerf heavily the Katagawa's Revenge. I posted plenty of builds with this because basically what would happen is you bring out Katagawa's Revenge, and the shock version, these little jellyfish would shock it multiple times of gun damage, and then it would add the action skill and basically melt a boss with a single shot. Another funny change is there's actually a class mod for Harlowe that would roll with a +5 to pencils down, which is obviously not intended when this only has a 3 cap, and it's a capstone. So pencils down, whenever action skill is cooling down, she grants herself and her allies reload speed and fire rate. So yeah, you could get some pretty crazy fire rates going. However, I love going down and taking some of these skill tree abilities that give you your action skill back, like Conformative Reality. I'm surprised this didn't get nerfed because you can, as you saw at the start of this video, get your action skill back immediately. I'll quickly show you guys a build here. We're going to be using the Conformative Reality. And what's funny is there's actually a class mod with the Skeptic, which is not meant for this whatsoever. It's actually meant for the blue skill tree. We don't care because it has a very powerful ability which status effects will restore 5% of our action skill cooldown, which we're going to apply a lot of them due to a lot of the things on our skill tree here, which allows us to get our Chroma Accelerator back immediately. And this allows us immediate upkeep on our neutron capture. So boom, we activate our action skill. You see we have our action skill back immediately. Go shoot again, activate our action skill. We got our action skill back. Shoot again, we got our action skill back, and we get free crits after we use our action skill, so that's why we got a lot of critical hits there, using the nerfed critical hit knife. But you're gonna see, yeah, it looks like we're taking a long time to beat this boss, and we kind of are, but once we change our magazine, we see the boss's health bar begin to melt pretty quickly, maybe a little bit faster. If we reload the gun, it will pop them off too. So yeah, with Torque Stickies, you can see there, you can still do a lot of damage. I didn't actually min-max that perfectly, but you get the idea. And there we go, it ended up melting the boss. So yeah, it's still pretty good. You can take down boss in Ultimate Vault Hunter 5. Obviously, if we went longer, I didn't want to take this up for a whole lot of time, but you can continue to keep doing this and keeping your magazine full and delete bosses. This works great with the Queen's Rest pistol as well. But I was just using a radiation damage bod. So yeah, this may be the new best roll for it. It is a little bit tricky to get it to work, but it works. Now, have you ever played as Rafa and blown yourself up unintendedly? Well, this is no longer going to happen because Apophis Lance is previously going to cause issues. Previously, it would decrease your gun handling. Now it actually decreases your gun's accuracy, which is a pretty big change because handling impacts how fast the projectiles go. So with certain builds on Rafa, the Temerario here will actually give you minus handling as well still. So with certain guns, you actually will blow yourself up because the projectiles won't travel faster than you and you hit yourself with them. So this is now changing the Apophis Lance to work properly here. And then also his Philanthropo class mod. I did 2 days ago post a video on the best class mods for Rafa. Now with the Temerario here, or the Philanthropo here, which is Spanish for philanthropist, this will now properly give you the correct grenade if you have done equipped it. So makes this a little bit better, but still not the best. In fact, if you want to go around grenades, the Grenade Zerker is a lot better because you can throw additional grenades and TD your gun, so the Chuck Assault Rifle. And another pretty nice change for the Apophis Lance is this now actually will scale with anything that reduces your overall cooldown rate. So if you're playing with Harlowe, you can actually get this back a lot quicker now. And gear changes. There's actually a lot of gear changes. There's a lot of really cool things here. So gun handling now properly changed the gun projectile speed. Obviously, the most notable is the reduced critical hit chance on the Jacob's knife here. So the critical hit knife is no longer 100%. It's only 30%. I thought it would be like 50% probably, but 30, hey, it still works decently enough. This still probably make it one of the best grenades, although not always the best grenade, which I think is nice for just changing up the overall meta here. So Jacob's licensed parts will ricochet only trigger from intended damage sources now. Jacob's shotguns with torque stickies and the knife launcher underbarrel no longer deals knife damage after switching modes. This is a big change because with the stickies, you could actually end up making the stickies deal massive damage. So I knew it was going to happen. Same thing with this. We knew the critical knife was going to get nerfed. Now, one thing I think is interesting is the SMG Frangible. You might have seen this. It's an SMG. I always trash them because they had 0 DPF. What was weird about Frangible is it's actually like a prefix to a weapon, like you can see here. This one's the ambushing. This one is the tossed ambushing. This is the looming. This one is just rangefinder. This one's watching. Frangible seem to be a prefix to weapon. So I'm curious to see if Frangible will come back because it would seemingly, like there's a lot of different theories on what it did because sometimes it would have different parts for it. I think it was a bugged weapon, so they removed that from chest loot tables. So, hey, we'll see what happens there because you can only really find it from chest loot tables. That's where I found it mostly. And the legendary first impressions reduce critical hit damage modifier, which is not something you're going to really use often. But there were some changes to things like the Vladoff flamethrower underbarrels, which now works properly. It's not nerfed and going to completely destroy bosses immediately. Knew this one was going to get changed as well. Tor grenades with spring and apex augments now always explode in the first apex. So again, grenades with their additional bounce and things are going to be all working correctly here with a lot of these here. Healing orbs from the kill spring can no longer heal enemies. That's a great change. Cinder Shelly now doesn't talk to you as much. Another massive change. I do enjoy using the Cinder Shelly because it's a pretty cool shield here. I hate this bug. So with Cinder Shelly, increase the overall damage reduction up to 50%, but it talks to you, and it's kind of funny when it talks to you like some of the previous weapons in Borderlands games. However, it was annoying, and I've noted that many, many times. So this is great that that's no longer triggering that. TDR underbarrel names now match correctly across items, cards, and ammo widgets. And then we actually got some pretty big changes here to things like the Star Helix shoots 33% faster. The Star Helix is actually a pretty high damaging gun, so the fire rate increase will just further boost up its overall DPS. I don't have one because it wasn't that really great to use previously. This is a change I really like. Another gun that was not really that great. You could use it, and it's actually a really fun gun to get in a swing of using, but it was just overly complicated for all the other more powerful weapons in this game. But Bonnie and Clyde got an increase in damage by 40%, and the bonus damage when you swap is now 150%, making this a very viable weapon now. I'm very excited to see this. Bugbear increased damage by 40%. I think that's definitely fair. Max damage increased to 200%. Nice change. Rowan's Charge base fire rate change. Another gun that just really needed it. And so Rowan's Charge does explosive stickies, but one that I'm really excited about is Lucian's flank base damage increased by 50%. I love this gun. It's one of the most fun to use, and it just sucked. I thought it was really great, but the damage per projectile is super low. You can get it with a few different rolls. I just have a cryo one here. I'm going to start using this one again. It does have a cooldown because every time you get a critical hit, it restores 2 ammunition, so you can continuously keep restoring the ammo, but it does have a slight cooldown. This is also a Jacob's licensed gun, a Vladoff gun, so you know Vladoff's really good in Borderlands 4, and then there's another barrel which will increase your overall fire rate. You can get it in a variety of different rolls. I love this gun. It's just a fun one to use. So now that this is actually getting a massive 50% damage buff, that's nice. So you see there, fast fire rate, and then now it shoots even quicker. It does wind up and start shooting a lot faster, but you get the critical hits to restore your ammunition. And then with certain characters like Rafa with his infinite shots, it's really great. Or even Harlowe, because she can regenerate ammunition. So I'm really excited to see that. Rowan's charge is also a nice change too, but I think Lucian's flank will be more exciting for me because of the projectiles from Jacobs. Aegon's Dream is also increasing his overall damage. Ordnance's Gamma Void damage increased by 450%. Gamma Void's one that I never really thought to be that great, so I think this is actually a really nice change. There's just so many really good ordinances in this game. It's hard to use others. And Raven Fire got its damage increase. So another really nice thing is class mods all got boosted overall damage. I just did a bunch of videos talking about the best class mods, and I don't think it's changed any of my rankings. I was just going through this before I made this video just to address the videos that I did make. Melee damage is overall buffed. I haven't done Amon's video yet, but Amon is really the melee type of character that performs best with it. Skill damage on level 50 class mods is increased to 45%, and then avatar attunement. So the attunements on basically the attunement skill tree for Vex is about like, he has 4 different skills that'll add additional attunement when you bring out like a shock weapon or an incendiary. Now this increases the time by 45%, so you get more time to swap between them to keep your bonuses from them. Avatar's not really that great, but it's kind of a fun one to use. And the Kindred Spirits command skill on level 50 class mod is increased to 45%. So this increases the time that you get Trouble's action attack from. So this is just giving you a faster cooldown on it. And Forge Knight, Amon, the Forge Drone duration increased to 45%. That's not really that great. Forge Drones are okay, but you can keep them up pretty much indefinitely. Legendary Effect increases all Forge Drone damage by 20% per active Forge Drone. It's okay, but again, they're not that powerful. Viking's detonation damage on level 50 has been increased to 60%. This is actually a very nice change. Forge Master, Forge skill on level 50 class mod increases 60%. Another okay change. And Elementalist legendary effect now increases all damage dealt by Amon by 2% per affinity stack. I think a couple of these here are actually really nice, but overall, nice to see some changes to Amon after he got a pretty harsh nerf. And then Gravatar class mods, Bio-Robot, hazard damage at level 50 increases 60%. Again, I've talked about it in the video where I talked about the best class mods for Harlowe. Hazards in Borderlands 4 just suck. The enemies move around a lot. The damage isn't that high, so a 60% boost of damage isn't that good. And the Skeptic stasis damage has increased to 60%. As mentioned, I think that is the best class mod. I guess I'm not playing Harlowe right now, but it gives you that 5% action skill back per status inflicted. Even if you don't use stasis at all, this is actually a really nice change for stasis, but it's a really good class mod. And Repkit's Hard Hitter now gets a 50% melee damage boost. We're seeing some great changes to melee, and hopefully we'll see some more. And Firmware, Big Reel now grants 25% daily melee up from the 15%. And then Action Fist gives 25% at rank 1. Action Fist now gets 30% at rank 2, up from 30. So it's, yeah, no change there. Not sure what they mean by that. So yeah, I think that was a title that should be 25%. And Boxer Armor Shields now get melee damage boost, and Berserker melee shields now get boosted up as well. So that's really great. Groundbreaker now only stores gun, action skill, and ordnance damage. This is actually a pretty big change because this was actually pretty bugged in how it worked. It was great with Vex with her Reapers because it would stack this infinitely. This is now going to be changed. And Groundbreaker is causing recursive loops that could lead to infinite damage by storing bonus damage across the board. We want the skill to be effective but not scale infinitely. We'll be monitoring melee builds after this. So I do think melee builds are actually going to be becoming a little bit more powerful with all these changes. Huge UI fixes. One of my favorites is when you go into the weapons. And now, for whatever reason, they thought, they want to go by manufacturer. I always go by type, so you can see like Mally 1 shotgun, Jacob's shotgun. It just makes this so much cleaner. It's going to keep this now, so this is really good because whenever you go between screens, you'd have to go and then swap it around again, and it was just a pain in the arse. So yeah, that's a really nice change. There's a lot of other quality of life changes here too, so you can pause this if you want to read over these. But yeah, just a lot of nice quality of life across the board here. Player stability, playing with friends, things like that are going to be much more enhanced. And even on console, you're seeing some changes there. There's the weekly big encore boss, the Battle Wagon, fun fight, so go do that one there. And you also could get the Kickballer, which is a very powerful, and I'm surprised they didn't nerf this, and I'm going to be posting a build on that in the next coming days. So let me know what type of Borderlands 4 content you'd like to see next, what builds you want to see too, because I'm going to be redoing a lot of these, as many of them got nerfed. So hit the subscribe button below if you want to see more Borderlands 4 content. I hope you have a great day, and we'll catch you all in the next video.